Good evening. I am the Maven of the Eventide, and welcome back to the Vampire Library, where I share with you all of the vampire books and things that you have shared with me. It's October, the best month of the year. The air is crisp, the skies are dark, the leaves are red, and the Vampire Ball is right around the corner. That's right, I will be going to the Vampire Ball in New Orleans next week. If you're going to be there, please come say hi. I love to meet all my vampire friends in New Orleans every Halloween. Yes, I'm aware that there are actually 2 vampire balls this coming weekend. Vampires can never have too many balls. If there were 6, I would be going to all of them. I usually start these videos off with the books because this is the Vampire Library and books are the main feature in the Vampire Library. But as it is October, Halloween month, spooky season, spooky decor surrounds us, I have a lot of things to share with you this time. The things actually outnumber the books this time, and I'm going to start off with sharing a couple things that were sent to me very generously. This is a box of makeup from Vampire Cosmetics. You can buy their cosmetics on vampirecosmetics.com. That's vampire with a Y. And this was sent to me by the wonderful owner of the company, who is also the editor of Undead magazine. And when I was talking to her about the magazine, she was like, I'm gonna send you some products. So I expected, like a couple things. No, this giant box comes in the mail. What's inside? I love makeup. Look at all this. So you may recall, I've spoken to you about Vampire Cosmetics before. I have some of their palettes. I showed you these previously. These are eyeshadow palettes that are shaped like books, so they belong in the Vampire Library. Here's the Dracula one. It has 3 pages of eyeshadow colors, and the pigments are all rich and glorious. I also have the Jane Eyre palette, the Wuthering Heights palette, and the 2 Cthulhu palettes. Cthulhu, my sexy teenage heartthrob. If you know, you know. So since I bought my book palettes last year, they've come out with a lot of new lines with different themes. The company licenses properties, like this box with good old Emily the Strange on it. So they license brands and then create makeup lines with them. And they were actually in the news recently because they canceled their licensing agreement with Alice Cooper after he said some transphobic remarks. So if you like a company that has strong moral principle, Vampire Cosmetics is where it's at. And it's also vegan and cruelty-free, which is kind of ironic for vampires, but good for your face. These are a few things in their Winchester Mystery House line of cosmetics. I got a couple eyeshadow palettes and a mascara and an eyeliner. And these are really cool. Look, they're shaped like a pen and it has Sarah Winchester's autograph on it. The Bazaar is beautiful eyeshadow palette and the packaging is just so cute. This one's in the shape of a house. This one in a crystal ball. Tonight, I'm wearing the eyeshadow from the crystal ball palette. And when you open it up, it's magnetic. Really cool, and this mirror is actually a really good quality mirror for something that's so thin. Do my eyes look Winchestery and mysterious? This is the Vincent Price Classic Horror Palette, and this is a UV reactive eyeshadow palette, so wear it under your black light. The Amy Brown Bubble Rider Palette. It's such cute packaging, and look how sparkly they are. The Vampire Cosmetics Classic, their wine lipsticks. This is the Undead Red shade of their wine lipsticks. They have about half a dozen shades of these, and they are so cool. Drinking your vampire wine. False lashes come in a coffin-shaped box. Look at those. And 2 items from the Emily the Strange line. Oh my God, Emily the Strange, I'm back in 2002. This is the microphone lipstick. It's a little microphone. Precocious purple. And this is the coolest thing. It is a guitar-shaped eyeshadow palette, magnetic cover. It's got the cat-shaped mirror. 6 colors, such bright pigments. I'm definitely keeping this box. Thank you, Vampire Cosmetics, for sharing these wonderful products with me. You can find them all on their website, which is right here, vampirecosmetics.com. Vampire with a Y, or you can buy them in some retail locations. For instance, the Boutique de Vampire in the French Quarter of New Orleans sells them, and I will be there later this week for the Vampire Ball. Boutique de Vampire is the best shop. This is a Vampire the Masquerade, the New York bundle for Nintendo Switch, and it contains Coteries of New York and Shadows of New York, which we have discussed plenty. If you're unaware, I did complete playthroughs of both games on this channel. playlists. And I played them on Steam on my computer, but now they came out with them for physical consoles. This was sent to me by the company that made it, and originally they were going to send me the collector's box edition that had all the other cool fun stuff that came with it, but apparently they sold out of those already. So I was supposed to do an unboxing video of it for you and share it for you, but I guess they don't even need that anymore if they're completely sold out. So get it while it's hot, the New York bundle. These were both really interesting games to play. If you want to see what I thought about them, watch my videos or try it on your own. We had fun. Okay. Now I'm going to get to some books and then we'll get back to the stuff later. So much stuff. Vampire Weekend by Mike Chen. And this novel is brand new, just came out this year, not connected to the band of the same name in any way. I think everyone's been talking about this, so I'm glad to finally have it. What is it all about? Well, it has a corgi on the cover, so you know it's gotta be good. Being a vampire is far from glamorous, but can be pretty punk rock. Everything you've heard about vampires is a lie. They can't fly, no murders allowed, the community hates that, and turning into a bat? Completely ridiculous. In fact, vampire life is really just a lot of blood bags and night jobs. For Louise Chow, it's also lonely, since she swore off family ages ago. At least she's gone to decades of punk rock shows, and if she can join a band of her own, while keeping her situation under wraps, maybe she'll finally feel like she belongs to, a vampire rock star, after my own heart. Then a long-lost teenage relative shows up at her door. Whether it's Ian's love for music or his bad attitude, for the first time in ages, Louise feels a connection. But as Ian uncovers Louise's true identity, things get dangerous, especially when he asks her for the ultimate favor. One that goes beyond just family. One that might just change everything vampires know about life and death forever. A paperback copy of Salem's Lot. I did already own Salem's Lot. I had a used hardback copy that doesn't have a dust jacket on it, so it's nice to have a brand new shiny copy with a cool tie-in cover. Now a major motion picture. Except it's not. So there was supposed to be a brand new major motion picture of Salem's Lot coming out, but it just kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And they came out with this movie tie-in cover, and the film still hasn't even been made. So it's kind of funny. This might be a relic for the ages. Salem's Lot is a classic. It's one of Stephen King's early novels, and I have never actually read it. Until now. This month, we are reading Salem's Lot, finally, in our Vampire Book Club, which you can join. We host Vampire Book Club in my Discord server. The link for that is in the description of this video. And because this book is on the bigger side and we're all so busy with Halloween, we've given ourselves 2 months to read it. So you still have time to catch up or read Salem's Lot with us, and we will hold our book club meeting for it in the middle of November. But what is Salem's Lot, you ask? Ben Mears has returned to Jerusalem's Lot in hopes that exploring the history of the Marston House, an old mansion long the subject of rumor and speculation, will help him cast out his personal devils and provide inspiration for his new book. But when 2 young boys venture into the woods and only one returns alive, Mears begins to realize that something sinister is at work. In fact, his hometown is under siege from the forces of darkness, and only he, with a small group of allies, can hope to contain the evil that is growing within the borders of this small New England town. The biggest misconception with Salem's Lot is that it's based in Salem's, Massachusetts, with like the witch trials and stuff, but it is not. Salem is just short for Jerusalem, and it's a town called Jerusalem's Lot. Nothing to do with that Salem. This book may be nearly 40 years old, came out in 1975, but it is still so popular that when I tried to get the audiobook version of it to listen to for book club this month, because I have a long road trip to New Orleans and I wanted to, keep up with my books while I'm driving, there were 14 people in line ahead of me at my local library just to get that audiobook. So get it while it's hot. My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine, another brand new novel that just came out this year. Who says you can't teach an old vampire new tricks? An utterly adorable romance with the most dreamy hero to ever don a cravat. Cravats do make everyone instantly dreamy, it's true. Try one sometime. True love is at stake in this charming debut romantic comedy. Cassie Greenberg loves being an artist, but it's a tough way to make a living. On the brink of eviction, she's desperate when she finds a too-good-to-be-true apartment in a beautiful Chicago neighborhood. Cassie knows there has to be a catch. Only someone with a secret to hide would rent out a room for that price. Of course, her new roommate, Frederick J. Fitzwilliam, is far from normal. He sleeps all day, is out at night on business, and talks like he walked out of a Regency romance novel. He also leaves Cassie heart-melting notes around the apartment, cares about her art, and asks about her day. The bar really is that low. And he doesn't look half bad shirtless on the rare occasions they're both home and awake. But when Cassie finds bags of blood in the fridge that definitely weren't there earlier, Frederick has to come clean. Cassie's sexy new roommate is a vampire, and he has a proposition for her. A Girl's Guide to Vampires by Katie McAllister and the sequel, Sex, Lies, and Vampires. These are vampire romance novels from the early 2000s. Sometimes love can be a pain in the neck. Joy Randall's top 5 tips for vampire hunters. 1. Location, location, location. Remember, if you wouldn't be there, neither would a bloodsucker. They won't be found dead, in places like discos, 10-minute lube shops, or Switzerland. Check the Czech Republic. Number 2, trust your eyes. You know the handsome, annoyingly arrogant, self-assured man in the shadows with long hair and a cleft in his chin? He's your vampire. Number 3, no matter how tempting it might be, do not accidentally acquire a paper cut and suggest your vampire kiss your finger to make it better. That's written in all caps. What you offer as a snack, he might take as a 4-course meal. Number 4, from here on out, play it cool. Don't offer to accompany your Prince of the Night on a talk show circuit, and whatever you do, don't offer him your heart. Sounds like someone speaking from experience. Number 5, and most of all, remember, being a vampire is nothing to laugh about. So you're telling me this book is funny? The blurb on the back of the sequel has a blurb about the first book saying that it is both sexy and humorous, an absolute delight. The summary on the back of this is also gimmicky. It says, Charm School 101, instructors, Neil Harris, Charmer, Adrian Tomas, Dark One. Class description, are you responsible for lifting a centuries-old curse from the sexiest vampire you've ever seen? Does a demon lord want to destroy you? Have you somehow inadvertently bound several mummies to your soul? If you answered yes, well, you're in big trouble. Let us show you how the power of love can salvage even the worst of situations, not to mention the most tormented of men. Duration, a lifetime. Oh, these sound really fun. I hadn't heard of these before. Thank you for sending them to me. The Radleys by Matt Haig, who you might know as the author of The Midnight Library, which was the hotness for a while. My other non-vampire book club read that book. I enjoyed it. The Associated Press says irresistible, full of clever turns, darkly hilarious spins. Even if you're suffering from vampire fatigue, you'll find The Radleys is fun, fresh contribution to the genre. And this came out in 2010, so people very well might have been suffering from vampire fatigue at the time. I didn't even know Matt Haig wrote a vampire book. The Radleys are an averagely dysfunctional modern family living in a quiet English town. Peter is an overworked doctor, and Helen is a forlorn housewife. Rowan, their teenage son, is being bullied at school, and their anemic daughter Clara has recently become a vegan. They are average, that is, save for one devastating exception. Peter and Helen are vampires, and for 17 years, have been voluntarily abstaining from a life of chasing blood in the hope that their children might lead a normal existence. But one night, when Clara is driven to commit a shocking and disturbingly satisfying act of violence, her parents are forced to explain their lies. Moving and thrilling, The Radleys explores the lengths to which a parent will go to protect a child, the costs of denying your true identity, the undeniable appeal of sin, and the everlasting iridescent bonds of family love. Vampires in the Lemon Grove, which I have shared with you before, is a collection of short stories by Karen Russell. I already own this in paperback, but now I have this very gorgeous hardback copy. Thank you. Issue number 20 of Fangoria, which has the feature on The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Did you see that movie? It came in and out of theaters so quickly, like a ship in the night. What a cool spread. Vlad the Fabulous Vampire and Layla the Perfect Witch by Flavia Z. Drago. These children's books are follow-up to Gustavo the Shy Ghost, which we discussed previously, and according to this sticker, they exist in the same world as Gustavo the Shy Ghost. Vlad is a vampire with a passion for fashion, but he doesn't want to hide beneath his black cape anymore. What's a vampire to do? So cute. Have I mentioned before that I love spooky children's books? Maybe once or twice. Believe it or not, that is actually all the vampire books I have for you this time. However, I do have many more books that are dark, gothic, spooky in nature that I will share with you because they deserve a place in the vampire library as well. Firstly, this amazing book is The Witch and Other Tales of the American Gothic by Jessica Hobbs. It is a collection of short stories, and I am super excited to read this one. An accursed witch is banished from her home in Portland, Maine. A young socialite in New Orleans dabbles in magic to get rid of a rival. An acrobat in a traveling circus learns of her greatest enemy lives in the mirror. An Irish immigrant may have brought malevolent fairies with her to the New World. A lumberjack in the Pacific Northwest suspects a monster lurks behind the enormous trees. A Colorado gold miner finds himself trapped in the bowels of the earth, no matter how many times he tries to dig his way out. A psychiatrist in Chicago suffers from insomnia and loses track of where reality ends and his nightmares begin. Written in the literary tradition of Gothic horror, The Witch and Other Tales of the American Gothic is a collection of strange occurrences in 19th century America. These 7 stories provide a reflection of the country's growing pains during the time of transition and an exploration of the secrets that lurk in the shadows of the world we think we know. And isn't the cover gorgeous? Maybe hard to see, but this is like a creepy forest with a lake and then like a skull in the background. This one I am also super excited about. This is the epic saga behind Frankenstein, the true story, by none other than Sam Irvin, who we have discussed before. If you missed it, Sam joined us on my channel a couple months ago to talk about his previous book, I Was a Teenage Monster Hunter, How I Met Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and more. And as the expert he is on classic horror cinema, he has a particular passion for Frankenstein, the true story, especially for its queer themes. He had written an article for Little Shop of Horror magazine about this, and it has now been expanded into this huge, full-color coffee table book that's just absolutely gorgeous. The foreword is by Anne Rice. There she is with Sam. This must be the last thing she's written to ever be published. Includes an artwork of Lestat by Mel Odom. I've never seen this art before. And then the afterword is by none other than Frankenstein worshipper extraordinaire himself, Guillermo del Toro. Such a cool book. If you haven't seen the movie Frankenstein, the true story, check it out. It is a very cool version of Frankenstein. And then read the book all about it. Speaking of Frankenstein, I received this gorgeous copy of Frankenstein with this really pretty cover. Look at the edges. Black, painted, science-y symbols. That artwork. Illustrated. Look at our baby. It's so beautiful. Thank you. And with that came Mary and the Birth of Frankenstein by Anne Eekhout, translated by Laura Watkinson. I wonder what language it was originally in. This is a novel, a fictional novel. Apparently it's beautiful, hallucinatory dream of a novel. Translated from Dutch. And this is brand new. Looks like the Dutch version came out in 2021 and the English translation in 2023. A gripping reimagining of Mary Shelley's youth, vividly exploring innocence, young love, Gothic mystery, and the roots of her literary masterpiece, Frankenstein. Switzerland, 1816. A volcanic eruption in Indonesia envelops the whole of Europe in ashen cloud. Amid this year without a summer, 18-year-old Mary Shelley and her lover, Percy Bryce Shelley, arrive at Lake Geneva to visit Lord Byron and his companion, John Polidori. Anguished by the recent loss of her child, Mary spends her days in strife. But come nightfall, the friends while away rainy, wine-soaked evenings gathered around the fireplace, exchanging stories. One famous evening, Byron issues a challenge to write the best ghost story. Contemplating what to write, Mary recalls another summer when she was 14. Scotland, 1812. A guest of the Baxter family, Mary arrives in Dundee, befriending young Isabella Baxter. The girls soon spend hours together, wandering through the fields and forests, concocting tales about mythical Scottish creatures, ghosts, and monsters roaming the lowlands. As their bond deepens, Mary and Isabella's feelings for each other intensify. But someone has been watching them, the charismatic and vaguely sinister Mr. Booth, Isabella's older brother-in-law, who may not be as benevolent as he purports to be. With gripping mastery and verve, Anne Eekhout brings to life a defining moment in Mary Shelley's youth, the creative wellspring for one of the most original, thrilling, and timeless pieces of literature ever written. Provocative, wonderfully atmospheric, and pulsing with emotion, Mary and the Birth of Frankenstein is a hypnotic ode to the power of imagination. When it talks about Mary and Isabella's feelings for each other intensifying, I wonder if that means this is a queer book. Yes. Well, according to the back, the pull quote is, "That must be it. I thought about the kiss. The kiss I could not remember, but so wished I did." If you like your real person fanfic, dark and spooky. Also, this copy of Frankenstein in the Signature Classics series, along with a few others to add to my Signature Classics set. I already had Dracula, Great Expectations, and we've got Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, and The Picture of Dorian Gray. I love a Gothic matching book set. Speaking of Gothic, we have some Edgar Allan Poe as well. This is The Fall of the House of Usher and other stories that inspired the new Netflix series. Are you watching The Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix? Really pretty edition with some cool design. Always love new editions of Edgar Allan Poe, my idol. And this is Poe Knows, a miscellany of macabre musings, with illustrations by Taylor Dolan. Poe Knows features more than 200 quotes from his writings in which Poe expounds on his thoughts on madness, emotions, beauty, death, dreams, love, and other themes that caught his unique fancy. Who knew how much Poe knows? What a witty wag that Edgar Allan Poe was. Whether waxing eloquent about the poetics of beauty, or the logic of insanity, or the dreamer's slippery grip on reality, he knew how to sum up his thoughts in tasteful turns of phrase, both quaint and macabre. With some cute illustrations. Oh, he has thoughts on cats. Cats are modest. From Desultory Notes on Cats. A whole section on the madmen in Poe's work. Such a cute little book. I love cute little books. Speaking of cute little books, I found these books in my grandma's old house. She had a collection of tons of old books that were her parents, and this is a full Edgar Allan Poe collection here in multiple volumes, and this is Murder in the Rue Morgue and Other Stories in 2 volumes. The works of Edgar Allan Poe from 1902. These books belong to my great-grandmother in 1902. So I brought them home. She won't miss them. I just love old books. Speaking of old, I also took these from Grandma's bookshelf. These are The English Dance of Death by the author of Dr. Syntax, Volume 1 and 2, with 38 colored plates by T. Rowlandson, and their follow-up, The Dance of Life. These belonged to my grandma's father. His signature is right here. The Dance of Death is a subject so well known to have employed the talents of distinguished painters in the ages of superstition that little is required to recall it to the recollection of the antiquary, the lover of the arts, and the artist. Holbein is more particularly recorded of having employed his pencil in a work of this kind, but without entering into the detail of the masters who have treated the subject of the Dance of Death, the present object is merely to attract the public attention to the subject itself. Few remains are now visible of the original paintings which represented it. They're talking about the paintings that were on the cemetery in Paris that has since been torn down, though they are erecting a fountain in its memorial, and that should be ready next year. But it had the Dance Macabre painted out, where you have Death himself dancing with people from all walks of life, from the very poorest to the very richest, just to show that no one escapes death. No matter who you are, death will always come for you. And one day he'll come for me. So it is this artist's version of the Dance of Death, his drawings and paintings. So here we have a studious person in a room surrounded by Grecian busts, and Death with his scythe leaning over his shoulder. And then it is an epic poem. We have Death's dialogue. Here we have Death on a beach contemplating with 2 people who've been washed ashore. Death holding up a genealogical table for this family. Of course, he would know all of their ancestors. A corpse collector collecting corpses during the plague, and here Death, he's throwing a guy onto the pile. So helpful. Wow, I have never seen any of these illustrations before. I have a Tumblr. Yes, I do tumble. That's entirely devoted to images of death, especially images of the Grim Reaper and Death and the Maiden. That's what I tumble on Tumblr. You can follow me if you like. Elisa in Time on Tumblr, same as my Twitter handle, X handle. I need to explore these in much more detail because this is brand new to me and so exciting. As a person who has a particular affinity for the personification of death, so much so that I wrote a whole book about him myself. The Dance of Life is also an epic poem. Much fewer skeletons in these illustrations, but still very beautiful. 1903, a treasure. Thank you, Great-Grandpa, for thinking ahead of me. The Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of Lore Olympus Volume 5. Can you believe there are 5 volumes already? So gorgeous. I have talked to you about this comic, Lore Olympus, so many times that I'm sure I don't need to say anything more. You can read it all for free online. It's on Webtoon, but if you love it as much as I do and you want these beautiful, full-color, glossy, laid-out versions of the comics, there are 2 versions of the books you can buy. You can buy the regular versions or these Barnes & Noble exclusive versions with extra content and different covers. I love them. This book is really cool. It's actually an activity book. Nightmare Before Christmas paper models. You can punch out the models of the artwork and designs from the movie. The sets, like this is the mausoleum, that's Christmas Town. The Swirly Mountain is in here in the graveyard, but of course I've already done those, so they've already punched out. Oogie Boogie's arcade. So cool. I love arts and crafts. This is brand new, just came out. You can probably find it just about anywhere. I found it at BJ's. Nightmare Before Christmas. Christmas is coming up, isn't it? You know, when people asked Tim Burton whether it was a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie, he said it was a Christmas movie. But it's a Christmas movie about Gothic spooky people celebrating Christmas. And you know, any people could celebrate Christmas. So it's not Halloween-y or about Halloween just because of who they are. One of my favorite childhood movies. This I found on the Barnes & Noble clearance rack, their book annex. It is sticker mosaic art of horror. Sticker mosaics are kind of like paint by numbers, but you do them with stickers instead. So here we got the Grim Reaper here. We got a witch with a cauldron, mummy, black cat, skull with candle, a ghost, some bats, a black widow, the wolf, of course, and then like a zombie hand coming up. If you need some sort of meditative relaxation, still want to keep it spooky, and it was on clearance. This matching set of classic novels from 1932. The person who sent these to me said that they were just clearing out some old books and thought I might like them, even though they're not necessarily Gothic. But we got Victor Hugo in here, we got Lord Byron in here, and sent me a good stack of them. And then my mother was visiting, and she saw them, and she is as much of a book collector as I am. It runs in the family. And she was like, oh, I have that set. Do you want my set to, like, complete your set, unless we have any duplicates? Turned out we only had one duplicate, which was the works of Ibsen, and she wanted to keep the works of Shakespeare for herself, and, you know, I have plenty of Shakespeare of my own. So she gave me all the other ones to go with it, so now I have twice as many of this matching set of classic novels from 1932. There's Nathaniel Hawthorne in here. He's Gothic. House of the Seven Gables, yeah, good one. The works of Kipling is in here. He wrote a poem called The Vampire, which I showed you before that I have in this teeny tiny book. This is The Vampire and Other Verses by Rudyard Kipling. You know, I hadn't actually ever read The Vampire by Rudyard Kipling, even though I've had this book for a while now. And I was just looking at it before I sat down here, and it's actually really short. And I thought about reading it to you, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. But if you join me for our next Vampire Book Club live stream, I will read it to you then, after we're done talking about our book of the month. Some movies. This is The Night Flyer, Stephen King's adaptation. Evil has a flight plan. The airplane has a shadow that's the shape of a bat. I'm actually not familiar with this story. For tabloid journalist Mr. Dees, facts are always stranger than fiction. Every headline is a deadline. Serial killers, UFO abductions, tales of molestation, mayhem, and murder. To some, the tales are unbelievable, but his faithful readers believe. And now there's a new story, The Night Flyer. What is it that flies by night in a dark-winged Cessna, lands at secluded airports, and brutally murders local residents? Dees begins to follow the unknown killer in a Cessna of his own, uncovering clues that reveal a plot more terrifying than he could ever have imagined. A creature so untamed by human nature that their final confrontation will leave nobody unblooded. I don't know whether the creature is a vampire or not, but it sure sounds spooky. Of course, there definitely are vampires. This is the Blu-ray release of Season 1 of AMC's Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire, which we have discussed extensively. There aren't that many bonus features or anything on the Blu-ray release, except the 2022 San Diego Comic-Con panel, which hasn't been released before. So I'm really curious to watch that and see all the things that I heard people talking about that whole time. I think it's really funny. They had to put certified fresh by Rotten Tomatoes on the back. Like, just in case you thought it was bad, because, you know, some people don't like, no, Rotten Tomatoes says it's good. If you watched my series of videos on this show, you know exactly what I think. It's complicated. And along with it, season 1 of AMC's Anne Rice's Mayfair Witches. I like that they call it season 1. It gives me hope that there might be season 2. We have not heard anything about that yet. This season did not do very well. It was not very well received. It definitely had a lot of good stuff going for it, but it had a lot of problems. I haven't discussed it on this channel because it is a witch show. Even though it's set in the same exact universe as the Interview with the Vampires show, we'll get to it. I will definitely be talking about it at some point. I have thoughts. You know anything by Anne Rice is fair game on this channel. One of these days, I'm just going to convert to a straight up Anne Rice channel. Just watch. This is an Edgar Allan Poe tarot deck, a deck of vintage horror by Sarah Christensen Fu. Do you dare to dream? Edgar Allan Poe tarot is for those who, like Poe, dream even when they're awake, see beauty in darkness, and are unafraid to face the shadows of everyday life. This evocative deck follows the pattern of traditional tarot, rendered through the lens of Poe's eerie characters and works. 78-card tarot deck illustrated with lush, original art that taps into the symbolism of Poe's macabre stories and poems. Full 152-page book that details the meaning of each card and gives simple instructions for different types of readings, plus explores tarot's mysterious history as well as Poe's tragic life. If you are curious about Poe's tragic life, I did write a video for another channel. I'm not in the video, but I wrote it. And I wrote a lot about Poe's tragic life, things that you may not have realized. If you want to watch this video I wrote, the link is up here. I'm not in it, but you may recognize who is. Of course, Fortunato is the fool. Cute little book. Yes. Back of the cards have a black widow, but instead of an hourglass, she has a skull. This was also in the clearance section of Barnes & Noble. This is the Edgar Allan Poe themed makeup palette by Hot Topic called Nevermore. It's a shadow and highlighter palette, and it's got these reflective little mushrooms, a raven on a skull. And the thing I love most about it is that all the shadows have a skull imprinted on them. It's probably hard for you to see. You can see my camera in the mirror. Down at the bottom of the mirror, it says Once Upon a Midnight Jury. Got some really cool dark blues and reds and purple colors, sparkly blacks. You know, my kind of thing. They have names like Abyss, Raven, Ghastly, Sullen, Dream, Love, Nevermore, Midnight, Desolate, Shroud, Wretched, Poet. He had a hard life. Speaking of Hot Topic, did you know that they have just recently come out with an entire line of Interview with the Vampire merchandise? Yes, Interview with the Vampire merchandise made by WB, which is the company that produced the movie. Not the TV show. This has nothing to do with the TV show. The movie is coming up on its 30th anniversary next year, and in celebration, they have launched a merchandise line, which... You trying to kill me? The first thing that we became aware of was the Funko Pops, which of course you can buy other places besides Hot Topic. Buy them on Funko.com. This is Louis, this is Claudia, and this is the other Louis holding a scythe with slightly different hair, which this is a Funko.com Funko store exclusive. So you can't get this one at Hot Topic. You can only get this directly from Funko. There will never be a Lestat Funko Pop because Tom Cruise, from the very beginning of his career, has forbidden that any merchandise be made of any character he ever plays. So we will not be getting any kind of Lestat Funko Pop or other Lestat products. But they do have this hoodie. Okay, so this hoodie has a velvet-lined hood, velvet corset laces up the back, velvet blood splatters and ribbons. And then on this sleeve, we've got coffins going down the length with initials in them in red velvet. So it says LCL for Louis, Claudia, and Lestat. Just love this hoodie. This shirt I'm wearing is actually one of the Hot Topic merchandise. This is the roughly white shirt. And you was like, oh, is it just a random roughly white shirt? No, you may not be able to see it because it's very light and I am wearing a red vest, but it does have a pattern on it. There's coffins, roses, wine glasses, fangs. It's a very light, subtle gold pattern that covers the body of the shirt, which is mostly covered. You can see it on my shoulder a bit. And then these wonderfully poofy sleeves. The Interview with the Vampire makeup palette that they're selling is in the shape of a cassette tape because the interview was recorded on a cassette tape. Cassette tape is like the emblem of the interview. And you can see here it's the WB 100 celebrating every story for their 30th anniversary. The colors are in kind of a reddish brownish family for the most part, and they all have the same stamps that are on my shirt imprinted in them. So there's roses, there's fangs and mirrors, there's wine glasses. The quote on the mirror says, "So you want me to tell you the story of my life, / Louis." They have names like Claudia, Infinite, Louis, Coffin, Immortal Kiss, The Dark Gift, Tomb, Lestat, Coven, New Orleans, Vampire, Mortal. The Mortal is a highlighter. They also have a lip gloss, Interview with the Vampire, sparkly red glitter lip gloss, because vampire spark, I don't know. I just love the packaging. Whenever they put those patterns with the fangs, the wine glass, and everything together, it's black on really dark red. It just looks like a wallpaper, like the Haunted Mansion wallpaper pattern. I love it. It's a very light, clear, glittery one. It's not very dark. So if you like a little bit of vampire essence on your lips. And of course, because it's Hot Topic, they have t-shirts. I did get all the t-shirts. This is the window t-shirt. We have a silhouetted Louis in front of the window. He's got blood on his collar. Louis, what have you been doing? With Daniel's tape recorder and everything, his cigarette in the ashtray. Very clearly the movie version, not to be confused with other versions. I got it in black because of course I did, but they do have other colors for these t-shirts. They do even like a light pink one if you like a little more brightness to your vampires. This one a little more creatively artistic, shiny gold. It's got Armand up here, Antonio Banderas Armand, Louis Lestat, Claudia, surrounded by bat wings, filigrees, candelabra, just gorgeous. Lestat's holding a wine glass, Louis holding a candle. Uh-oh, watch out, Louis got a candle. And there is the red printed version of that, the same image, but on this kind of washed out looking red print. Very pretty. This one is Louis and Daniel sitting across the table from each other. And this one confused a lot of people. They're in front of the windows, very much the scene straight out of the movie. But when people looked at it, they thought it was styled after the TV show because something about the way Louis looks here kind of looks like Jacob Anderson as Louis, which makes us all think that WB is very deliberately using the TV show's momentum, I don't know if I want to call it popularity, momentum right now to market Interview with the Vampire merchandise because people who maybe have never even watched this movie but are so into the new TV show will see this merchandise and they will buy it because it's Interview with the Vampire. We've never had merch before. Finally. This art is absolutely precious. We get Louis and Lestat and Claudia, the back of them walking down the street with the moon. Beautiful. It's wrinkly because I was wearing it. But they didn't stop at t-shirts. They had this like red velvet corset top you could get, which isn't really styled after anyone in the film, so I don't know how but it's pretty if you like tank toppy corset looking tops. And they also have a Lolita version of Claudia's blue dress, the roughly blue dress that she wears in the movie, so you can get that. I got this Victorian style waistcoat jacket, which has a big, roughly sheer skirt, a bow in the back, buttons up in the front. It's got like a vest looking thing. You can see the pattern in the lining is that same wallpapery pattern. On the front lapel brooch, it's got a bat pin. And on the sleeve cuff, once again, the trio of coffins embroidered Louis, Claudia, and Lestat. And how could I pass up the cape? This is a double layered cape. I love the material it's made of. It's like slinky and smooth, but good weight to it. The lining on this doesn't have the pattern, so it's a bit more subtle. It's less sort of cartoony. But the lapels has the embroidery of the three coffins. Very pretty. And when you're wearing it, it just like flows on you well. I'm not someone who shops at Hot Topic very often. So when I bought the first two t-shirts that I bought, they had me join up for their like rewards program, which ended up getting me like all these coupons for like 50% off and stuff. And then they kept having sales where things were like 40% off or 70% off. So that's why I ended up getting all this stuff for like, don't look at the price tags because that's not really what you're going to pay. Wait for the sales. They signed me up for their text messages because, you know, that's how I got the coupons. But I keep getting texts all the time. It's like, flash sale, everything's 70% off at the store. Work the system. But wait, there's more. This is it, I promise you. This is a coffin backpack purse. It's got that same velvet print on it with the red velvet corset laces. It says Interview with the Vampire down here on the hardware. Yep. And on the back, we have a quote. It says, vampires pretending to be humans, pretending to be vampires. How avant-garde. Louis and Claudia. Hardware here has fangs and a mirror. Lining, of course, is deep blood red. Love this. Last one, I swear. They also have this crossbody bag, which has a goblet here. We've got the three Louis, Lestat, and Claudia coffins in the embroidery, black velvet bow. The quote on the back says, drink from me and live forever, Lestat, which is the tagline of the movie. It's on the movie poster. Interview with the Vampire and the leather at the bottom. The bag is black velvet and fake leather, all animal friendly. Deep wine red interior. No, Hot Topic doesn't pay me. They don't even know I exist, but Interview with the Vampire merchandise. It only took us 30 years to finally have Interview with the Vampire merchandise. Just so excited. Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles are my favorite things of all things. Isn't that right, Louis? They even have the little veins on his face, like the makeup that they painted on the actors in the movie. And if only we could have a Lestat. The Lestat Funko would be too powerful for this world. Speaking of toys, I got some new Phantom of the Opera toys. Yes, this is not a Phantom of the Opera channel, but it's me. And after Vampires, Phantom of the Opera is my other fandom obsession. So this is the newest Universal Monsters NECA toy. We had this doll before, so it's a 8-inch posable Lon Chaney doll, and I have a couple versions of this doll with the same pose, the same mold. However, this new version comes with a velvet cape and 5 different faces, a hat, a stick, and 3 sets of hands. Very cool. This is the most elaborate version of this toy we've gotten so far. The packaging is just beautiful. This is my favorite promo poster of all the Lon Chaney posters. I love this one where he is being the siren of Lake Avern, singing through his snorkel, going after Raoul. And this one is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Universal Monsters tie-in, where every turtle and character was a different Universal monster. So we got Donatello is the mummy. Who's that is the Invisible Man? I can't tell. He's invisible. Splinter is Van Helsing, April is the Bride of Frankenstein, and Casey Jones is the Phantom of the Opera. Why Casey Jones? Because he wears a hockey mask, I guess. That makes him Phantom of me. But look at him. That's the most badass Phantom with his hockey stick. He's got 4 pairs of hands and 3 faces, one of which is a skull, as you do. Ooh, and gauntlets. And his hockey stick with his, hockey outfit on the bottom and his Victorian tuxedo on the top. Love it. The enigmatic and operatic man behind the mask, bringing fear in hockey gear. The penalty box vigilante, experience theatrical frights. Stalking under the stage, slashing beneath the ice. Casey Jones is the Phantom and Dracula are the 2 Universal monsters that I really care about, but because they are part of a set, I also am fond of the Mummy and Frankenstein and the Creature from the Black Lagoon and the Bride of Frankenstein and the Invisible Man, so yes, I would want the entire Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles monster set, but I'm trying to hold back. This beautiful little work of art was sent to me by one of you. It is a little wooden coffin filled with dark florals, painted, it says rest in pieces, and it features an actual animal bone. This looks like a vertebra painted. She said she thought it was possibly a deer's bone. Beautiful. I love macabre art like this. This is going right up on the shelf. Don't burn it, Louis. I forgot to share these with you last time. These are 2 bottles of alcohol that I bought when I was in Transylvania. And when I was showing you all the stuff in Transylvania in my last video, I just forgot to include these. This one, some very strong Transylvanian liquor, and it's got a blown glass little bat in it. I just love the shape of the bottle. I did try this liquor when I was in Transylvania, but I haven't opened this bottle yet. It's very strong. This one, obviously, I bought just because the bottle was so cool. It's wrapped in chains. It has a padlock, like it's some kind of dangerous potion. It's called Potion of Dracula. It is 40% ABV. It is apple brandy. Legendary Dracula apple brandy. Yeah. When you think of Dracula, you think of apples. Only an unearthly ancient incantation has the power to contain the fiery potion of Dracula in a bottle. Cast it each time you open the flask. Otherwise, the wild and restless potion will instantly vanish into thin air. Oops, where did it go? It must have vanished into thin air. This adorable little bat stuffy. When my fledgling spawn saw this, she was like, "Is this for me?" I was like, "No, mine." Maybe I'll share it with her. Her name is Ophelia. I won't fly into your hair. I know you don't want me there. My plan is to keep away in the attics where I'll sing. Aw, Ophelia, you're so lonely. Look how cute she is. So speaking of bats, these bat figurines I got from Michaels. The Michaels Halloween decor section this year is just amazing. It's probably mostly gone by now. You know, they started putting it out in July, right? But the bats, to decorate my house on Halloween only and certainly not year-round. They had like 3 or 4 different themed collections, one of which was like a pastel cute and spooky collection that had like pastel pink and purple spider webs all over everything. Very cute and pretty, but doesn't really match here, so I didn't go for that. But they did have one that I absolutely love called the Dark Romance collection. It was all skulls and florals and romantic stuff. So I had to get a few things from that. We have the Wedding Skeleton Hands, Together Forever. This is a box that's shaped like a book, and if you know how much I love books, you will know how much I love boxes that are shaped like books. It says Immortal Love, the skull with the floral, put stuff in there. This one, the larger, says True Love Never Dies. Did I already put something in here? It's heavy. It's my childhood Lisa Frank collection. Totally not on brand, but I'm versatile. I have depths. And hundreds of Lisa Frank stickers from the 1990s. Much too precious to ever use. I don't know if you know this about me, but I collect things. This hanging, which has the Grim Reaper with his scythe in a well full of flowers. You know I just had to get this. He's my boy. 2 more boxes shaped like books. Love You to Death and Love is Eternal. They had so much more of this theme. It's just so pretty. Of course, you can't buy it all, so I just got the things. I got them on sale. They're all 50% off now, and then I did the thing where, like, if you sign up for their card, you get 20% off their entire purchase, so I got everything on such a good deal. No, Michaels doesn't pay me either, and they don't know I exist. This bat pillow, I love her. One of the coolest things that they had going on this year was they had classic Gothic literature themed decorations. They didn't have Dracula, Bram Stoker, but they did have Mary Shelley in Frankenstein. This is a little glass bottle with a Frankenstein head. Washington Irving and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow with the pumpkin head. And of course, Edgar Allan Poe with the Raven. Legend of Sleepy Hollow plaque. Legend of Sleepy Hollow throw pillow. Skeleton hands holding the Raven. This is like everything that I love. But the Raven, sitting lonely on the placid bus, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. They put world instead of word. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. These cool storage tins, there's Washington Irving, Mary Shelley, Edgar Allan Poe, made of metal. More Raven wall hangings. Had to get a couple of their candles. This is the skull flower one. Smells like buttery vanilla sweet cream and golden caramel. And the skeleton butterfly one smells like green herbs, peppered wood, and gleaming citrus. So spooky. The Raven skull throw pillow. Come on, I had to. And while we're on throw pillows, look at this one that Paul got me. I don't know where he got this from. Probably like TJ Maxx or something. Spiders. Rest in peace. Oh, so while I was buying the stuff on Hot Topic's website with all those coupons, I wound up having like too many coupons, and I had gotten everything that I wanted to get from the interview with the vampire collection, but I still had like free money to use, and I was like, what do I spend this money on? I didn't want that Claudia dress. I didn't want that corset top. I'm never going to wear those. So I got some other t-shirts that they had of my boy, Edgar Allan Poe, and these are the shirts that they sell that are like, people design them, and then Hot Topic like accepts those designs and does print on demand for them. So you're buying like an artist's work, so it's not like a corporate made thing. This one with the ravens. And of course, the Nevermore. I did this one in blue, you know, for variety's sake. Speaking of t-shirts, my friend made this one for me based off Anne Rice's interview with the vampire books. This is a page from her book, Blood Canonical. And in that book, Lestat, who's the narrator, talks about how he wishes he could print his books on t-shirts so that people could walk around wearing his books on t-shirts. So what my friend did was made this design and put a page of the book on there. So, you know, we could fulfill Lestat's dream. And this is the page where he talks about wanting them on t-shirts. And it's hilarious. If you read the opening passage of Blood Canonical, like the prologue, Lestat is just ranting and raving about what people think of his books, which is really just Anne Rice ranting and raving about what people think of her books through him. And it's just, he's going through some stuff. But don't worry, he gets better. So there's this one, the black with the easy to read white, and then the red with the black, a little more subtle for, you know, when I just want to be a low-key Anne Rice nerd on Maine. So because my friend designed, made, and sent those to me, I had to make something back for them. So while I was at Michael's looking at all the craft supplies, they had all these wooden coffins, which I guess is similar to what this artist with a little wooden coffin made. So I bought some and I was like, what can I do with these wooden coffins? So first of all, I made this tray. I painted it black. I lined it with green velvet. These I molded out of clay and painted gold. And then on the back, I put the gold coffin nails. And this is a quote from one of Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles book. And it says, "And because I have no other god and never will, you shall be my god." And that is something that Louis says to Lestat when they are very much in love in one of the final books. So shh, don't tell. This is a surprise. The other thing I made, which I also made this box, I'm very crafty. Did you know that I'm crafty? So I made this box out of paper, put it together. I made a little coffin gift tag, wrapped a ribbon around it, and I'm going to open this box, even though I'm going to wrap it back up and give it to my friend. This coffin, I made a little jewelry box out of. So I painted it black, lacquered. I made this out of clay and painted it gold. And then inside, I lined it again with green velvet because green is a Louis color. And I made a little ring holder in there. You see, it's just to hold rings and you put your other jewelry in here. And in it, there is another quote that Louis says to Lestat when he's making his huge romantic love speech. "I love you with my whole soul." Yes, Louis, you do love Lestat with your whole soul. I had so much fun making this little coffin that I made a bunch of others with other Interview with the Vampire and Vampire Chronicles quotes for all the different characters. I made ones for Armand, I made ones for Akasha, for Claudia, for Daniel, for Marius. And I'm going to give them to all my friends. And this is the kind of thing, like, remember when I was like, oh, maybe I could make an Etsy store and start selling vampire and spooky and Gothic art. I still mean to do that. So if you think this is cool, let me know. This is the sort of thing I could make. So what do you think? Do you think I have enough things? And books. Books and things, yes. The Vampire Library is home not just to books, but to all things that can fit on a bookshelf. Which I guess this pillow can, but this pillow can fit on my reading chair. And all the other knickknacks go on the bookshelves with the vampire books. Thank you for joining me and loving spooky Gothic books as much as I do. If you want to look up any of the books that I discussed today, I made a list for you so you don't have to like go back through the video and frantically try to scribble notes down, though that would be good for the algorithm if you did do that. But no, I put them all in a list, which is linked in the description of this video. Scroll down, you can click that list and just see all the books that I mentioned today, and whatever one of these things that I can also add to that list. If I can find like a buy link for it, I'll put it on there for you as well. And all the other books that I've ever mentioned and all of my 22 other Vampire Library videos that I've made for you. I thought this was going to be like a 3 or 4 video series, and we're up to 23 now. It's good. It's great. Keep the vampire books coming. I can never have enough vampire books. The Vampire Library can never be too full. If you enjoy reading vampire books and want to read them with me, join me in the Vampire Book Club, which I host on my Discord server. It's free. Anyone can join. Just join the Discord server and then click to follow the rules and then click to join the book club. If you want to support the Vampire Book Club or me or this channel in general or any of my other videos, you could do that by joining my Patreon. We are reading Stephen King's Salem's Lot this month. Our meeting for the book club will be in the middle of November, so please join us. You don't have to read the book to join. You can just lurk and see what everyone else is saying about the book. You cannot join the Discord and still just come to the live stream on this channel. You cannot come to the live stream and just watch the video later because it will live on my channel afterwards. There are many options. I will finally talk about this book for you, which means, you know what that means? I will finally be able to watch the motion picture that exists. Because I've never seen that either, because I want to read the book first. Not this major motion picture, which certainly does not exist, even though it has a book tie-in cover. But, you know, the famous one. I deliberately avoided reading Stephen King in my formative years because when I was writing, a lot of people would compare my writing to his. And I'd be like, well, I never read him, so that's just coincidence. I'm not copying his style. So I felt like I never could read him. So I never read him so that people wouldn't think the reason I wrote similar to him apparently was because he had influenced me, which he had not. My literary influences are, can you guess? I'll give you a hint. There's 2 of them. I'm the Maven of the Eventide, and I will be in New Orleans this coming weekend for the Vampire Balls. So if you're there, please do come and say hi to me. And I hope you all have a fantastically spooky Halloween.